most unprepared, even the most foolish, often rise to positions of power, while those with wisdom, heart, and vision remain in the shadows. This isn't just politics or history. This is energy, consciousness, and something that even Machiavelli understood centuries ago. If you've ever felt like the world is upside down, like the wrong people are leading while you stay stuck, you're not imagining it. In this video, we'll dive deep into how the structure of power truly works from a spiritual lens, and why those who manipulate, deceive, or appear foolish often align with certain energetic patterns that attract influence. You'll understand how energy, frequency, and intention create our outer world, including who rises to power. And more importantly, you'll learn how to shift your own inner world to stop feeling powerless and start becoming the creator of your reality. Have you ever held yourself back because you thought you weren't ready or smart enough? Do you feel like your light is too quiet in a world full of noise? Then this video might be exactly what you need right now, to awaken, to reclaim your voice, and to finally understand how to stand in your true power. Let's begin. We often ask how the foolish find their way to the top, how those with shallow minds and loud egos rise to places of influence. But perhaps we're asking the wrong question. Perhaps power is not something seized. Perhaps it is something offered. A mirror held up by the collective unconscious. Carl Jung taught that what we fail to face within becomes our fate without. In this light, those who lead us are not anomalies. They are reflections. They embody our collective desires and fears, our unresolved shadows, the traits we secretly admire or silently tolerate. Their rise is not separate from us. It is born from us. Power reveals what we value, not on the surface, but in the depth of our spiritual condition. When we see arrogance, perhaps it echoes our discomfort with humility. When we see manipulation, it may reflect our own dance with truth and illusion. We cast our inner chaos into the spotlight, then stand in awe of the drama it performs. And so, when the foolish rise, we must ask not only what went wrong, but what within us is being shown. The leaders we choose reveal more about our inner landscape than our outer systems. Plato once dreamed of philosopher kings, rulers who lead with wisdom rather than desire, but even he knew the wise rarely seek power, not because they lack the strength, but because their hearts are tuned to harmony, not domination. And so, the throne is left open, and those who crave its weight step in to claim it. In our modern world, success is no longer tied to merit, but to the mastery of illusion. Power belongs not to those who understand deeply, but to those who know how to be seen. The system isn't broken, it's just working exactly as it was shaped, rewarding the ones who manipulate perception, who understand that charisma is currency and substance is optional. True intelligence sits quietly in the corner, thinking, feeling, weighing the world. Meanwhile, cunning walks to the center, smiles for the cameras, and captures the crowd. The one who shouts loudest, not the one who sees farthest, becomes the one we follow. We chase confidence even when it's hollow, applaud certainty even when it's blind, and overlook wisdom because it whispers and does not demand attention. In this theater of noise, the loud are crowned while the wise are overlooked. Wisdom whispers, ego shouts, and the world too often follows the noise. Since ancient Rome, rulers have understood that the quickest path to control is through distraction. Bread and circuses. Give the people food and spectacle, and they will stop asking questions. This tactic has simply evolved. Today, it is not the wise who captivate the masses, but those who entertain them. We live in a world that chases stimulation over substance, where the glow of a screen replaces the glow of self-awareness, and where emotional highs are valued more than meaningful truths. Leaders are no longer sages, they are performers. They know how to stir feeling, how to create outrage, how to stay visible in a stream that never stops flowing. Enlightenment, with its stillness and discomfort, struggles to compete. We are conditioned to follow those who make us feel something, even if that feeling is shallow or short-lived, and in doing so, we neglect those who offer real growth, because growth requires effort, and entertainment offers escape. In a world addicted to attention, It's the loudest, not the deepest, who are seen. But when we confuse entertainment for leadership, we trade wisdom for spectacle and guidance for distraction. The soul grows hungry, but instead of nourishment, we keep feeding it noise, hoping the ache will go away. When the soul is hungry, it confuses distraction for nourishment. In rooms filled with uncertainty, the loudest voice often wins, not because it's wise, but because it sounds sure. We mistake volume for vision and arrogance for authority. And in doing so, we allow empty vessels to be crowned as kings. Real strength moves differently. It doesn't rush to dominate or parade itself for applause. It listens before it speaks, pauses before it acts, and leads not from fear, but from awareness. Yet that kind of quiet power is easily overlooked in a world that rewards performance over presence. We are drawn to those who declare certainty, even if it's false, because ambiguity scares us. A leader who exudes dominance may feel like a savior in chaotic times, but beneath the surface, they often lead with ego, not essence. And the crowd, seeking safety, clings to the image of power while ignoring its source. The foolish rise by wearing the mask of strength, a mask polished by projection and propped up by our own insecurities. True leaders, the ones who carry light in their chest and humility in their words, rarely fit the mold we've come to expect. The ego leads through force. The spirit leads through stillness. In an age where complexity is mistrusted, simplicity becomes a seductive disguise. Some leaders wear it like armor, just like you, they say, as if shared flaws are proof of shared strength. But there is a vast difference between being relatable and being unqualified. We've begun to cheer for those who mock expertise, who wear their ignorance with pride and call it authenticity. They speak in slogans, not because truth is simple, but because simplicity shields them from scrutiny. Complexity demands thought. Slogans just demand applause. And so the crowd gathers, enchanted by the familiar voice that says it like it is, even when what is said is hollow, harmful, or dangerously incomplete. The performance of being one of us becomes a weapon, not to unite, but to excuse. Anti-intellectualism becomes fashionable, and wisdom is labeled elitist. But truth doesn't always shout from the podium or echo in a chant. Sometimes it arrives in silence, wrapped in nuance, uncomfortable in its honesty, asking more from us than we're used to giving. And those who carry that kind of truth are often ignored, or worse, ridiculed. Truth doesn't always speak in slogans. Sometimes it arrives in silence, misunderstood. Power is not inherently dark, but it demands a vessel, and when the wise refuse the role, the unwise rush in to fill the emptiness. Those who seek to heal seldom crave control. Their strength lies in compassion, not command. So they step back, unwilling to dance in the shadowed halls of power. And in that silence, the craving for domination grows louder. The space left by light invites the shadows to perform alone, unchecked and unchecked by conscience. Lao Tzu reminds us that the best rulers govern so gently, so subtly, that people feel they have done it themselves. But when those rulers step away, the people are left with puppeteers. It's a cycle as old as time. The absence of true leadership creates a vacuum, and the vacuum invites those who seek power for its own sake. The result is not the failure of power itself, but the failure of us to engage, to illuminate, to hold space for something higher. Without the steady presence of light, shadows dance unchecked. The deeper question is, how do we reclaim that space? When light refuses to enter the arena, the shadows perform alone. Many who walk the path of inner growth see politics as a battlefield of ego, corruption, and endless conflict. They turn away, seeking peace in meditation, in silence, or in community far from the noise. And this withdrawal is understandable. Why enter a world so often tainted by shadow when your heart seeks the light? But absence creates a vacuum. When the spiritually aware refuse to engage, that space is filled by those less equipped to lead with wisdom or compassion. True balance is not separation but integration, the meeting of inner clarity with outer action. It is the marriage of spirit and society. If awakened individuals do not step forward, who will carry the torch? Who will infuse leadership with values rooted in consciousness, humility, and empathy? The world does not need more silent saints. It needs vessels of transformation, hearts willing to act and minds willing to serve. Consciousness without action remains meditation. But consciousness in motion becomes transformation. The invitation is clear: to move beyond observer to participant, to embody the change we seek, and to lead with light even when the shadows loom large. Consciousness without action is meditation. But consciousness in motion becomes transformation. Our systems were never designed to nurture wisdom, emotional depth, or true self-awareness. Schools focus on facts, tests, and conformity, rarely teaching us to question, to feel, or to grow inwardly. Media, too, feeds the hunger for scandal, conflict, and spectacle, never pausing to hold space for reflection or truth. In this environment, the loudest, the most dramatic, the most cunning rise to the surface. The public is conditioned to choose personalities over principles, spectacle over substance, performance over authenticity. It's a cycle that perpetuates itself, burying the quiet power of wisdom beneath the noise. When culture stops rewarding wisdom, it begins to forget its shape, its form, its very essence. The collective memory dims, and with it, the capacity to recognize true leadership fades. We begin to mistake the flash of brilliance for its steady glow. Until we realign what we honor and reward, the dance of power will continue to favor the foolish over the wise. When a culture stops rewarding wisdom, it begins to forget what it even looks like. Power does not rise in a vacuum. It is the mirror of the crowd, the collective reflection of what we project, tolerate, and sometimes even crave. Every vote, every moment of silence, every share of attention fuels the ascent of the foolish. It is far easier to blame those who lead than to look inward and ask, what part of myself do I see in them? The leaders we tolerate reveal the hidden corners of our own psyche, our fears, desires, and unhealed wounds. The chaos outside is often the chaos within. To shift the tide, we must begin with ourselves. We must illuminate our shadows and claim our power as conscious creators of the world we live in. True change begins when the masses awaken to the truth that they hold the keys to the kingdom, not as victims, but as vessels of transformation. The tyrant thrives not only because of their ambition, but because the collective unconscious grants them permission. It is time to reclaim that power, to reflect not the shadow but the light. The external tyrant thrives on the inner unconsciousness of the masses. In our age, leadership often resembles a stage performance. Charisma and image become the currency, while substance fades into the background. Leaders are treated like influencers, judged more by their presence than their principles, more by their spectacle than their sincerity. The world applauds the mask, the show, the well-rehearsed act, while the quiet, messy truth struggles to be heard. Yet the soul resists being led by illusions forever. The hunger for authenticity grows beneath the surface, waiting for a moment to break free. Truth may not dazzle or entertain, but it offers liberation. It frees us from the hypnotic pull of performance and guides us toward genuine connection, with ourselves, each other, and the deeper currents beneath the noise. Truth is not glamorous, but it liberates. True transformation is never a solo journey. It calls for collective awakening. Each of us carries a spark that, when ignited, can light the way for others. When we choose to embody wisdom, humility, and compassion in our daily lives, we create ripples that reach far beyond ourselves. The path to enlightened leadership begins with the courage to face our own shadows and the willingness to grow through discomfort. We must also recognize that the fight is not against individuals, but against the patterns that bind us. These patterns, fear, ignorance, division, are ancient and persistent, but not immutable. By nurturing self-awareness and extending empathy, we weaken the grip of these forces. We build bridges where walls once stood, inviting unity instead of discord. In embracing this responsibility, We reclaim the sacred balance between power and spirit. Leadership rooted in consciousness is not about dominance, but service, not about control, but trust. It calls us to listen deeply, speak wisely, and act with integrity, transforming the very nature of power itself. The journey toward conscious leadership requires patience and persistence, for it unfolds not in grand gestures but in small, consistent choices. Each moment we choose awareness over reaction, compassion over judgment, and truth over convenience, we chip away at the walls that keep the foolish in power. This quiet revolution of the soul is the foundation upon which a new world can be built, one where power serves the collective good and reflects the highest parts of ourselves. It is easy to see the foolishness around us and react with judgment, anger, or despair. Yet true spiritual growth asks us to move beyond blame and into awareness, an awareness that calls us to rise, to speak, and to act. We cannot transform the world overnight, but we can begin by refusing to feed the illusion. We can choose presence over passivity, light over shadow, responsibility over helplessness. This is the path from victimhood to vessel, from watching the chaos unfold to becoming the calm within it. The awakened must stop watching from the sidelines. The world does not just need our prayers, it needs our presence, our courage, our voice, our light. The awakened must stop watching from the sidelines. The world needs your presence, not just your prayers.